I can't thank her enough for everything she's done for this. And if you guys, all you people, if you got businesses, you're entrepreneurs, you are struggling, you guys don't even know the efforts that she's putting in to try and connect you guys and plug you guys back in to your community, because we're going to build this economy back up from the ground up, starting with us first. Yeah. We don't need the government to rebuild our economy. We'll rebuild it ourselves. Okay? Anyway, the woman I'm so thankful for, Susan, there you go.
Thank you, everyone. And just a quick question for this gal. Laura Lynn, can you identify yourself? Are you nearby? Someone is looking for you up here. Laura Lynn. There she is over there. Okay. Laura Lynn, our beautiful independent journalist, Vancouver's own. Okay, like Marco said, thank you so much. I always like to say something that's meaningful from my personal story, because my passion is looking every one of you in the eye and getting your name and working together and saying, if I can do a little thing, so can you. You can write an email, make a t-shirt, organize people. This entire thing, buy a drink, $5 over here, by the way. This entire thing started when I said, well, if I don't get off the couch and get 5 or 10 people together, then how can I expect anybody else to do that for me? And that's why we're here today. Because everybody else wanted to get off the couch. So this summer we decided, hopefully now the lockdown will be easing, well it is, that we could roll into a really cool summer campaign that we're calling the 2020 Summer of Freedom, to get more people out organizing events that have meaning to them. So please find a way to contact me or give me your info today if you want to design an event, and we will help you. It doesn't mean you have to do everything. You just have to say what you're passionate about, pick a location, come up with a really cool concept. It could be painting, music, marching, direct action, anything, and we will get everyone in the group notified about it. We'll make flyers and we'll make it happen. Like today, this really is the first one. So mine will be, if you've got the flyers, mine will be next Sunday inside the Kitsilano Showboat, which I think we're allowed to use because it's public property. And if they force us out of it, then it will be on the grass. It's primarily an event for parents, but everyone will be interested to launch a campaign this summer to annul Order in Council 376 that Adrian Dix secretly put into order. And if you don't know what 376 is, you can Google it or ask any of us. It's essentially what the vaccine industry calls surveillance. There's 500,000 students from K to 12. Mine are in elementary school, and surveillance for vaccines, they want to know exactly who has been injected with what so they can fill the order, make more money, and know exactly what every child is doing. So a parent like me that refuses to participate is being threatened with 6 months jail and a $200,000 fine because I will not comply with Adrian Dix's Order in Council 376. Not comply. I will not comply. I'm 52. I grew up in the 70s, so don't fuck with me. That's what I say. So that is called surveillance. Check it out. It's a common term in the industry. Okay, so a couple more things. Get the flyer. That's next weekend. Hopefully it's going to be nice. Again, sound system, music. Maybe bring a bathing suit, like who cares, whatever. We're gonna have some fun this summer. Okay, the other small things is get one of these drinks. They're amazing. What is in this? Do you wanna quickly come and tell me what's in this one? Secret, oh, secret, okay. And we especially ask them without labels because we know anybody that shows their brand or is here is putting themselves on the line because there's so much intimidation going on. And so thank you again for being here, being visible. It matters, and we've got businesses or people like the Juice Company wanting to support us. Okay, the other thing is, if anybody wants to make a donation, how much did the sound system cost?
Don't worry about the sound system.
No, how much did it cost? $100? $200? Okay, if you want to kick in a toonie or a loonie, come see me, or buy a t-shirt. There's 4 of them left. for 20 bucks each. That will cover the cost of the sound system because Marco has paid for itself. And that will be a part of the events. If anybody's going to hold an event and spend a couple $100, we'll make sure that money is given back to you through the group. Okay, that's the goal. Because we might as well build our own economy. That's what it's about. A justice economy for all. Okay, I think that's the end. Of my speech. Someone else is coming up. Okay, $10. There's a donation. We need another 90. But again, all of you coming here and standing here in the rain and taking time away from your children or washing your clothes or whatever. This is how justice works when we all show up and do it together. There's safety in numbers. The more of us, the better. Then we win. And then we can force these leaders to be honest and to put legislation and policies in place that can protect us and that are healthy for our families. Thank you for coming.
You guys are like way too generous. I really appreciate you guys. You have no idea. Yeah, I'll tell you. Anyways, you guys are enough. I really can't. You guys can't see. I'm gonna keep the glasses on because I'm really moved. Even just by those little donations, by everything you guys do, by the numbers of you that came out here for this. It's something the rest of the world's done and Canada has lacked on for so long. So you guys are really making history right now. One more time, guys, give yourselves a round of applause. Make a lot of noise for yourself. A little more noise than that. It's way too quiet for all your efforts. Beautiful.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. I just want to first say thank you to Marco, who I had the pleasure of talking to the other night for 2 hours, and being on a Zoom call with Susan and Brian. I did an interview, my first interview yesterday. Hi, Brian. So for me, it's just really great to be around really strong people. So today, you've heard me speak the last 2 marches, but today you see me dressed in who I'm known by and with my people as Osawisisquiyu, which is Cree. I'm Nehio and Anishinaabe from Manitoba. I'm also Irish and Scottish. And my name means brown bear woman. And I said last Sunday that I've been preparing for this my whole life, and I mean it. Literally down to the details. And so now I'm on fire and I'm excited to be here and to be speaking. So where do I begin? I want to show you something. I have a paper here, and it says a pass permit, a pass piece of paper. You may not know this, for 100 years, when my people signed the treaties with the Canadian government, they put us on reserves, which were prisons. We were not allowed to leave till 1952. We had to get permission by the Indian agents. And if you were allowed to go, and you didn't come back in the allotted time, they could arrest you and put you in jail or shoot you. That was in 1952. Right after that, they brought out the permit system. And what that was a way to control commerce and the economy and making money on reserves. Oh, sorry, thank you. On reserves. And so if, for example, you were growing potatoes and you wanted to sell them to the Ukrainian farmer next door, you had to get permission by the Indian agent, and whatever money you made, you had to give to him, and he decided how much you got. So if you made $100, maybe he'd give you 10. That's when a lot of my people started to die. Okay? So that was stopped in 1992. That is why there is no jobs. Everybody judges my people and calls them alcoholics and all these other things. Well, you don't realize what we are all living in right now is what my people, as Marco said, have been putting up for 150 years. I wondered why my people aren't out on the streets like this. It's because they're scared. I work as a family counselor, and I've been working with my people for a long time, and my job is to try to empower them because they're still afraid. They're afraid of authority. They're afraid of doctors. They're afraid of police. Why? Because you know about the residential schools. So if you did not give up your child, they would threaten and put you in jail. Now, I heard last week in California, which could happen here, if you are accepting money from the government and you do not vaccinate your child or decide to, they can take your child. So trust me, if what they've done to our people, they'll do it to all of us. So that's why I'm here today to speak, and I want to speak for a few minutes about my background and the vaccines. I am a vaccine expert. 30 years ago, I started in the health industry and started to learn stories. 30 years ago about flu shots, that elderly people died in senior homes. And I was like, what? And then I learned that medical doctors, a lot of them don't vaccinate. I learned that 30 years ago. I'm like, what? And I'm the type of person that likes to question. And shortly thereafter, in the health store I worked at, Alive Health Center, you maybe heard of those stores, my manager took me aside and said, look at this box. And she showed me a box. And in it was salmon oil, Podarco, and stevia. And I said, well, why are we hiding this under the counter? She said, because of Health Canada. Because they've been known to come into health food stores and raid them. I'm like, what? So she said, be careful when you talk to clients. Don't ever say the words cure or anything, because you'd get in trouble. Well, about a month later, I came into work and we got raided. And they came in and treated the two workers like drug dealers. They ransacked the store and confiscated the Podarco, the salmon oil, and the other stevia. And the owner got a $2,000 fine. That is when I became a health activist. So I started on the local level doing talks about Codex and Health Canada and the WHO. So that was on the local level. Then in about 2000, I started working on the provincial level, national level. And by 2003, I was the vice president of the International Advocates for Health Freedom. So I worked going against the WHO, exposing them, Health Canada, and the FDA. The group that I was the VP of was an American group, so I worked with a lot of Americans and a lot of great people around the world. But I will tell you this, when we were doing our documentary, we got infiltrated because we were getting very powerful. A lot of people were hearing about our work around the world. And guess what? If any of you know about controlled opposition, and what that is when someone comes in from the other side and pretends to be your friend. So I had 2 lawyers and a scientist that pretended to be my friend. And in the end, they tried to sue me. But before that, we were in Washington, D.C. We got a PR guy hired to find out who this couple was. And this couple, you maybe heard their name, Rima Lebeau and General Stubblebine, who since passed away. Well, we did a dig, and they met at a remote viewing conference and had ties to CIA and secret intelligence. So I said to my colleagues from around the world, because we met in Washington, D.C., I said, well, we must be doing something right, because they've set out the big guns. But guess what? Within 6 months, our whole movement was splintered. My relationship ended. It was, and we had a gag order, and it took another 2 years to get our film out. But I just started working on my website yesterday, so please, I'd like people to come there because I did 2 documentaries, We Become Silent. We had actress Judy Dane Dench do it. You may know of her. And then the second documentary I did in 2010 was called A Question of Sovereignty. That talked about globalism, talked about the loss of our freedoms. So again, I got infiltrated again by another lawyer here in Canada who took my film after it was done, who didn't want me to do it, and he went across Canada and fundraised $50,000 from my film. His name is Sean Buckley, and I'm not afraid to mention these people's names. Now, I want to mention I wrote 2 books at the same time. The first book was published a couple of years ago. It's about my spiritual walk. But my second book wasn't done. And 2 weeks ago, I realized why it wasn't done. Because I have a story to tell now. The last chapter is going to be what we're experiencing right now. So I've decided to finish it, and it's going to be up on my website, I'm hoping in the next week or 2. And then I'm giving it for free. Because what I'm going to tell you in this book is a lot of knowledge a lot of Canadians don't know. When I submitted that manuscript, the publishing company said, Candace, I didn't even know about some of the stuff you're talking about. But they said, you're brave, and the Canadians need to know the truth. So that's why I'm really happy we're standing here in front of Adrian Dix, because I know about him. Because in my book, I did a lot of research. You need to understand, when the UN was started and the WHO, then they created the Health Canadas around the world. So Health Canada takes its orders from the WHO. And so the provincial minister of health, like Adrian Dix, takes his orders from Health Canada. and the medical doctors below them take orders from them. Just to show you, okay? So again, it's time now. I know for me, I need to get out there and speak to the people because I hold a lot of knowledge, and my elders tell me knowledge isn't to keep for yourself. You have to give it away to the people. And so now is the time. And I've always said, when I started my activism, it wasn't about me, it was about my children. Now I'm a grandmother, but it's about all children. Because I said to my friend this morning, I said, if something, I am confident we're going to stop this, but I want my kids to say, yeah, my mom tried to stop it. And I wasn't sitting on the couch here, on Netflix. They were out there. Because as I say, this is real, what's happening, right? And we have to be strong. And I know all of you here are. And again, it just gives me strength to know I'm not alone and just surrounded by some beautiful people. And I want to tell one more story before I'm finished here. In 2000, my elder helped me get a job with Stalo Nation. And when I took that job, my managers were employees of Health Canada. They were not Aboriginal. So when I got that job, my manager said, well, I was a nurse. She says, but I stopped that job. I says, why? She says, because I've seen too many side effects and deaths with the Stalo children. And I said, really? She says, but I'm going to give you permission to go and educate the Stalo people. So I did. A month later, she came in my office and she said, you have to stop. I looked at her and I actually started to cry and I said, really? I said, so I guess money means more to you? I said, for me, it's about the truth. So I didn't stop. So I spent the next 10 months educating the people, talking to the people, and after 10 months, those managers had enough. They said, can you come to my office? And I knew they were going to try to fire me. Well, I've never been fired from a job. I will quit before I'll be fired because I knew I was doing a good job. So they did try to fire me. They said, well, Candace, we don't think you care about the people, and we think you have your own agenda. But I want to mention something. At that job, I had to do a monthly report. All the workers, the social workers, the nurses, we got the copy of the nurses' monthly report. And guess what it said? On the top, it said, deaths and side effects of vaccines. That was 20 years ago. Health Canada was keeping track of how many of our people were dying. So what was happening is they would go into the homes when the mothers had their babies and vaccinate them. The parents never had a choice. And that's what I was mad about in educating the parents, saying, you can say no. So when they tried to fire me that day, I walked out and I prayed all the way home. And I asked Creator for help. And I drafted a 3-page letter. And the first paragraph said, I, Candace Hill, have too much dignity and pride and will not, I don't deserve to be treated like this. And I got that letter to the 24 chiefs of Stalo Nation. And I quit that day. The interesting thing about that job is they didn't know I was Aboriginal. And they didn't know that I was adopted by a Stalo family. And they also didn't know I'd been working for about 15 years in the health industry. So I had a lot of connections. So the next day I called Croft Woodruff. If any of you know him, he passed away last year. He was one of our most amazing activists and human beings in BC. And I called him up. I said, I need to get in your radio show. He said, okay. You can come on in a few days. I said, it's about the vaccines and the Aboriginal people. He said, just don't tell me. He says, I did a show last week about a tribe in the Amazon that had been vaccinated and a bunch of them had died. And anyway, so I got on his show. I got a hold of Rhodey Lake, another health hero I want to mention, who really supported me, and I got my story published twice in the Alive magazine. If you don't know, at the height of our activism, in about 2012, trying to stop Health Canada taking away our vitamins, Rhodey Lake disappeared, never to be found. And that's in my book. I have stories of people I worked with that died and committed suicide, but I know it was not suicide. That's what's in my book. So back to the story, the Stalo managers came after me with 2 letters to try to sue me. The last letter, my son was about 12. And I said, get the matches. He says, why, Mom? I said, get the matches. And I took that second defamatory lawsuit and I burnt it. And he said, what are you doing, Mom? I said, this is what you do. It's called intimidation. Because that's what these people do. Divide, discredit, and destroy. I know because it's happened to me. Okay? And so in the end, my story went global all over the world. And a lot of Stalo people, a lot of Aboriginal people don't vaccinate anymore, but I wanted to tell you that story. Because, yeah, anyways, it is what it is, eh? So, yeah, so I'm super happy to be here today, and you're going to see a lot of me, because, like, I am coming out now, and going to be speaking and putting my interviews and, you know, things like that on my website. So, my website is my name, Candace, and then part of my spiritual name, which is Brown Bear, and then my last name, which is Hill. So I decided to put it all together, .com. So, I mean, it's not the most professional website, but it's got a lot of good stuff on there. You can watch We Become Silent and A Question of Sovereignty. So thank you for listening, and I love you all, and we are going to do this. We are going to do it. We can. Thank you.
But everybody here has been talking about like the specifics of why we're here. COVID, New World Order, control, population reduction, etc., etc., etc. Now, I've been a caricaturist and illustrator for the last 20 years or so. People pay me good money, believe me or not, to skewer politicians, and rightfully so. Now, I am somebody who does not believe in the goodness of politicians. I think that they're power-hungry seekers. I think that we see manifestations of that more visibly these days. And I think the cockroach is starting to come out from the corners, and we can see them for what they really are. This is nothing more than a power grab. We're under a massive Truman Show narrative, and they're all lying. Now, somebody, insofar as skewering and making fun of certain politicians, you know, we tend to revere them. Yeah, they want to do the good for society, blah, 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 blah. You know, but we can see them for what they really are, and at the same time, too, it really is hard to revere somebody when you're chuckling. So that's exactly what I do. What I do is to cast doubt as much as I can upon the shiny beacon of these people who are considered to be angels, who are separated from human nature, and which they're said that they have to lead and have a concentration of power over millions of people for the betterment of that society. It's one big lie. Just like this whole scandemic is one big lie, that the politicians care about you, they don't. And the reason why I say that is because at the same time as being an illustrator, I'm also somebody who studied political philosophy, and I know that
You guys, can you guys please clear some land for the ambulance? If we can't get through, can you just make sure that he's got a passage? We don't want to be lied about again. Last week, if you guys don't know, they lied and the press slandered us. Well, some of the alternatives. Wait for that guy. I'm going to hand it back over.
Now listen, I want to just very briefly listen to me, people. I want you to step back and take a look at the larger picture, and not just the specifics of why we're here. Very briefly, if we step back for the sake of looking at the forest, but for the trees, I can tell you, somebody who has studied political philosophy at some of the universities, I can tell you that government as a definition, when it comes to a basic definition, I'm not talking about just the Canadian government, I'm not talking about the Australian government, I'm not talking about the Russian government, the German government, I'm talking about the concept of government as such. When you get to a basic definition that separates it from any other institution, what you have is a common thing that strings it all together, all the governments together. And you know what that is? That's force. That is the initiation of force. And we can see that governments the world over are being revealed for what they truly are. If you look at the 20th century by itself, just the 20th century, the world over, all governments, 250 million dead. And that's not just wars. That's not just wars. That's what's called democide. Now, here we are in Canada, we think that, well, I mean, Canada, this is not Soviet Russia, this is not Nazi Germany. Well, I think that the character of government is starting to show. We can see, stop kidding yourself about this institution. And everybody is talking about sovereignty in their own markets. Rely on yourselves, you do not need these demons masquerading as angels. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Hi I'm really so blessed to be with so many courageous people. If you would have told me 3 years ago that we were going to be facing something like this, I would have said, no, you're talking about North Korea, you're talking about Czechoslovakia, you're talking about places like Poland, but all of a sudden we look and we see that Canada is not the Canada that we thought we had. And we have been duped and we have been lied to. And there is a conspiracy that is going on to take our freedom. And I am so proud of you that you are willing to show up and to stand. And I have been studying. I don't want to take a lot of time because all of you have spoken so eloquently. But can I tell you that the new virus is actually fear, and we will not bow to fear. We will not. I personally do not know a single friend who has been sick with COVID-19. I know that it's 98% recovery. I know that if you get it, you can take hydroxychloroquine and zinc. I know that doctors in Canada will not tell you that. I was on the phone with my own doctor, and I've been taking hydroxychloroquine for 14 years. Otherwise, I wouldn't have paid attention because I am not a doctor and I don't play one on TV. So what do I know about drugs? But I do know something. I've been on this drug for 14 years. Not one doctor ever told me that it was dangerous. Not one doctor ever said anything except that I would need to get my eyes checked. But what have they done? Even Zuckerberg, who is governing Facebook, I'll probably get this taken down for that, I don't know. But you know what? All he wants to talk about is vaccines. They don't want to talk about a 67-cent pill that will absolutely eradicate COVID-19 from the planet. And let me tell you, in BC, most of the deaths, over a very high percentage, are all, 82%, are all senior citizens. If any of you get sick, hydroxychloroquine and zinc is what you need to ask your doctor. If your doctor says no, get a better doctor. Get someone who knows what they're talking about. I'm pretty disturbed. I've been to 5 or 6 pharmacists. They don't know what eradicates COVID-19, and they don't want you to know that because they want you to take this vaccine. And y'all know we're just one step away to getting chipped and being forced, and you can't travel and you can't do this, and you can't buy and sell one day through a chip. We are seeing the fulfillment of prophecy. But can I tell you something? That in the end, we win. So we stand, and we will not bow, and we will be courageous, and we will stand for truth. God bless you. Thank you.
I'm very shy, but anyway, welcome. Thank you for being here, freedom fighters, people that don't want to, have medical tyranny, fascism, right? I just want to relate that I was also at the Royal Columbian Hospital about a week ago. My mom was there in the emergency. I asked one of the nurses there, hey, how many COVID-19 patients do you have? And she said to me, none. Followed with, but I'm not supposed to talk about that.
There you go.
So, the hospitals are empty. I took a couple of pictures. They didn't see me take pictures. Anyway. But here we are at Adrian Dick's place, right? And I have a message for Adrian Dix because my 97-year-old father is in a care home. And I've had to be doing the window visits with him, which are not really, they're okay, but, they're not that great, right? So I'm wondering, with these policies, we are supposed to have herd immunity. I don't know if everybody's seen the Witkowski videos of Newt Witkowski.
Yes.
If you haven't, he talks about herd immunity. And what these people, Adrian Dix, Bonnie Henry, Theresa Tam, they have been preventing us, right? Getting the herd immunity, right? If we get to like 50%, 50%. That's what I've heard.
Suppressing your immunity.
Right, so lock us all up. And so these policies are not helping. They're not helping us. They're putting the elderly at more of a risk. So I'd like them to answer that, Adrian Dix. And, what else did I want to say? Yeah, this is like the biggest economic terrorist attack in history. And so I'd like to put a message out for all of my fellow polite Canadians. It doesn't do anybody any good to keep your mouth shut right now. Stop being polite. Okay? It's time to speak out. Okay?
Yes.
And if you're standing on the sidelines, like whoever was up here, standing on the, shooting us down with the airplanes, whatever, you're not helping us. Stand up now and speak out. Stop being polite Canadians. It's not going to do any of us any good. Oh, and one more thing. So because it's, my mind is all like, I haven't slept. I have not slept because I am so anxiety filled because people are not waking up fast enough. It's driving me bonkers. Wake up. We're not a bunch of conspiracy theorists, whatever. And that label is a CIA term anyway.
Yes.
So shut the fuck up with that.
Okay.
You're so proud of yourself calling us conspiracy theorists. It's a CIA term. Like, knock it off. But anyway, these stay at home. Stay the fuck home. With the profiles. Stay the fuck home. Yeah, you're not gonna have a home. You're not gonna have a home because the dollar is gonna be worthless. So you better come out and join us, right? Thank you, everybody. Woo!
Yes.
Fight on. Bless you.
I'm so privileged to be in her presence. Here's Sarah. Sarah's gonna talk to you guys, so you might want to crowd around for this one.
The people at the top may be a piece of glass, but when our fear rises, they get all the power.
Yeah.
Is this your friend?
Prime Minister.
No? Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming out to every single event. You're amazing. Your parents did a very good job. And thank you for coming out too, little lady. Thank you again. It's so wonderful.